And Disney decided to hire the most insufferable girl boss narcissist that exists on Earth, who hates Snow White.
It has proven to be Disney's worst investment ever in the history of Disney investments. I mean, they've gone through various scandals with this girl.
If I'm Bob Iger, you know what we're doing? Emergency meeting. We're putting Snow White on hold for 2 years, and guess what?
Smart.
Pay her a couple $1,000,000, go away. We're gonna bring another person to play this role.
But because she has this underlying anger and hatred in her that always has to take it like one step too far.
You know, other movie companies are going to look at her and they're going to say box office poison. And a lot of this is due to her behavior leading up to the film's release.
They're leaning in.
Or what?
They're leaning into woke. Hardcore.
They're petrified of some kind of backlash. I mean, you see with Disney now. I mean, Disney, one of the most gay-friendly companies.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. I'm honored.
Rachel Zegler's Hollywood fairy tale? Yeah, that just turned into a PR nightmare no one saw coming. Once hailed as Disney's Golden Girl, the star who was supposed to redefine a classic, now she's at the center of rumors that she's begging for money after Snow White turned into a full-blown disaster. Can you believe it? This was supposed to be her Cinderella moment. But instead of ball gowns and glass slippers,
it's wrong and backwards and it's not 1937, whatever. That was like her initial spree, and everyone was like, okay, do you want to be Snow White or do you hate Snow White? Do you want to destroy Snow White?
She's now stuck in a whirlwind of bad headlines, online backlash, and whispers that her career might be slipping right through her fingers. Let's rewind for a second. Everything started unraveling right after the movie dropped. Rumors started flying that Rachel wasn't just dodging press, she was scrambling for funding for future projects. Some insiders even hinted she'd been quietly asking around, desperate to lock.
Trump wins, and Rachel decides to go on really just a psychopathic, demented rant.
In financial backing before her star fizzled completely. And remember, this wasn't just any film. Snow White was meant to be Disney's next crown jewel. But behind the scenes, it was a circus. We're talking full-blown screaming matches, ghosted interviews, and red carpet no-shows. And when the world finally got to see what all the drama was about, fans were not impressed.
Please?
For which movie?
Critics slammed it, viewers dragged it. And Rachel? She looked like she was on the verge of vanishing from Hollywood altogether. Word of Rachel's alleged financial panic spread like wildfire. People were stunned. How does someone who was this close to becoming Disney royalty end up possibly broke and begging? At the start, everything looked so promising. Rachel had just come off a huge breakout moment and was riding high. Disney clearly thought they had the perfect modern princess. Fresh,
I've been getting a lot of questions about, how do I feel?
fiery, and fearless. But that image started to unravel fast. The tension with co-star Gal Gadot? Oh, that wasn't just gossip, it was war. At first, folks noticed the little things, awkward glances, forced smiles, but pretty soon, the tension turned icy cold from disagreements over scene direction to full-blown arguments on set. The friction was undeniable. Rachel's vision for Snow White clashed hard with the more traditional Disney vibe, and Gal Gadot, she wasn't having it. By the time the press tour began, it was clear
The reality is she's just not stable.
something was way off. What should have been a fun, lighthearted rollout turned into a PR train wreck. Rachel kept pushing this modern morality angle, preaching about how outdated the original story was, and that just didn't sit well with fans who grew up loving the 1937 classic. People didn't want a lecture, they wanted magic. Gal, meanwhile, brought her own controversies. Her political stances stirred up heated debates, adding more fuel to the already blazing fire. It felt like every time Rachel opened her mouth, Disney's execs started sweating. And the worst part?
I never wanted to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities.
She just wouldn't stop criticizing the original film. Like, we get it. It's old. But fans loved that story, and every time Rachel slammed it, another chunk of her support just vanished. The backlash, immediate, intense, relentless. Online debates turned vicious. Some defended Rachel's vision, applauding her for trying to push boundaries. Others, they tore her apart for being ungrateful, self-important, and out of touch. And Gal? She wasn't exactly keeping a low profile either. Her continued focus.
My agent would have punched me in the face if I was up there saying some stupid what an investment.
Focus on global activism and humanitarian efforts clashed hard with Rachel's press statements. The whole thing was a mess. 2 stars, 2 wildly different agendas, and a studio scrambling to keep the fairy tale alive. Things really exploded when Rachel skipped a major ceremony honoring Gal. That was supposed to be the moment they came together, smiled for the cameras, and shut down all the feud rumors. Instead, Rachel bailed, and fans, they noticed. Some claimed she just...
Great. Okay? Fucking great. I'm honored. I don't know why I sound so angry right now. I'm honored.
Couldn't stomach being part of an event that clashed with her personal beliefs. Others said it was pure spite. Either way, it didn't look good. Rachel tried to explain it away later, saying the event's political tone made her uncomfortable. But it was too late. The internet had already decided. She snubbed Gal on purpose. And Disney, they were done trying to clean it up. All they wanted was unity, some smiles, a few cute interviews. But Rachel refusing to show up only confirmed everyone's worst suspicions. That the drama...
So with Snow White, let's go through this, right? There's no prince. Woman doesn't need a prince.
Oh, Lord.
Really? Okay, good luck back then.
...was very real. That's when things really started spiraling. Interviews got weird, behind-the-scenes footage started leaking, and more whispers poured out from insiders who said Rachel and Gal couldn't even stand to be in the same room. Some journalists said they witnessed photo shoots that had to be stopped mid-section because the 2 actresses literally couldn't fake it anymore. 0 chemistry, 0 warmth, all ice. One especially juicy moment. Someone who was there swears Rachel stormed off set after Gal made a snide little comment. She refused to come back until Gal apologized, or at least until everyone had cooled off. And by that point, the press had caught on. Audiences weren't just curious about the film, they were obsessed with the drama. Suddenly, it wasn't about Snow White anymore. It was about the feud, the fallout, the meltdown. Box office numbers came in and they were bleak. Even the most loyal Disney fans weren't biting. The film had too much baggage, too much drama.
Doesn't need a prince to save her, and not surrounded by 7 weird people. Oh, okay, just CGI fictional goblins, I guess.
No one wants to watch a fairy tale when the 2 leads clearly hated each other in real life. And behind the curtain, it was chaos. Disney tried everything to salvage the mess. Reshoots, new edits, even some last-minute script tweaks. But it was obvious they were just trying to patch up the cracks. And guess what? Most of those cracks were caused by scenes where Rachel and Gal had 0 on-screen chemistry. Editors had to Frankenstein together shots just to create the illusion of emotional connection. Expenses started skyrocketing. Marketing budgets were slashed just so they could pour more money.
And I get it, there's a difference between spoiling and whatever, but to go out and badmouth everybody and talk smack about, older movies in the same franchise, the canon story, I guess?
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I feel like they would have had better control over that.
Money into fixing the film. Insiders say entire scenes were restructured to avoid having Rachel and Gal share a single frame. And the press, that only made things worse. Joint interviews were canceled, late-night appearances scrapped, the dream duo that was supposed to charm audiences ended up doing solo interviews, if they did them at all. The biggest missed opportunity? They couldn't even get Rachel and Gal on one talk show together. Just one. That's all they needed to shut down the feud rumors. Instead, their teams panicked.
That said, our primary purpose is to entertain, and where we can entertain responsibly, obviously we try to do that. We try to have a positive impact on the world, but the first thing we need to do...
Panicked. Every interview risked becoming the next viral disaster. Every offhand comment could ignite a whole new media firestorm. And in the middle of this mess, Rachel's career started cracking. Producers who once called her the future started backing away. Some even whispered she was a liability. Sure, Gal had her own critics, but she had history.
Jonah Platt, whose father helped produce the latest Snow White film, had some very harsh words for star Rachel Zegler.
For context, Variety wrote a report recently titled Inside Disney's Snow White Fiasco, Death Threats, Beefed Up Security, and a Social Media Guru for Rachel.
A fan base and a blockbuster resume. Rachel? She was still the new kid. One big flop and she was suddenly a gamble. And with fewer roles coming her way, that's when the rumors started. Rachel Zegler, begging for money. Word on the street was she'd been reaching out to big names in Hollywood. Studio execs, financiers, streaming platforms. Some claimed she was trying to lock down projects to save her career.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always...
Career. Others said she was flat out asking for cash to keep things afloat. the whispers grew louder. Fans debated endlessly. Was it desperation or just a savvy move in a brutal industry? Gal Gadot was not happy. After Rachel skipped Gal's humanitarian ceremony, insiders say Gal felt humiliated. That night was supposed to unite them, yet Rachel's absence just made their feud louder.
So even though woke in some sense feels like it's dead, it still has to run its course through the system. The ghosts have to get out of the machine in essence.
Gal stayed composed in public, but the tension was now undeniable. As reporters kept pressing, Disney scrambled to change course. The movie that once promised a bold, progressive retelling had now become buried under conflict. Every trailer, every interview, every red carpet moment, overshadowed by their Cold War. And then came the whispers, Rachel Zegler begging for money. Some claim.
But at the same time, like, I think going forward, they're going to be like, hey, shut up.
Yeah.
Tight-lipped. Otherwise, guess what? We're clawing back some money.
Yeah. This would have been a lot better if they, had a strong male along with her, a prince, if it wasn't about socialism.
She reached out to execs and private financiers, desperate to stay afloat. Rumors said she was locking down new deals before Snow White completely tanked. The internet? Divided. Some defended her, saying Hollywood's cutthroat. Others dragged her for alienating Disney loyalists and skipping key events. Meanwhile, Gal kept it classy, never naming names, always steering interviews back to the film's artistry, but the feud was all anyone cared about. By the time premiere week hit, even Disney had given up on them appearing together. Promo material was recut, scenes were edited to keep them apart, and when the film dropped, the drama still stole the spotlight. Behind the scenes, crew members spilled tea.